Genesis 37. So Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived. This is the account of Jacob and his family. Joseph was 17 years old. He helped his brothers care for his father's flocks. And because he was young, he spent a lot of time with the sons of his father's wives Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Now Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children, because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than he loved them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the field, tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before my bundle." So, his brothers scorned, "Do you think you will actually reign over us? Do you think you will actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and the way he had described it. Then Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I have had another dream," he said. "The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me." This time he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers, but his father scolded him. "What kind of dream is this?" he asked. "Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. Soon, Joseph's brothers went to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, "Go and see how your brothers and the flocks are doing, and then come back and bring me word." So Joseph traveled to Shechem. When he arrived there, a man asked him, "What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied. "Do you know where they are pasturing the flocks?" "Yes," the man told him. "They have moved on from here. I heard them say they were going to Dothan." So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming from a distance, they recognized him. They plotted to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father that a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." But Reuben heard their plot and rescued Joseph. "Let's not kill him," he said. "Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. That way, he'll die without our laying a hand on him." Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. As Joseph's brothers sat down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels coming toward them. It was a group of Ishmaelites from Gilead, and their camels were loaded with gum, balm, and Rezin. They were on their way down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother? We'd have to cover up the crime. Instead of killing him, let's sell him to these Ishmaelites. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed. So when the Ishmaelite traders came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver. And the Ishmaelites took him to Egypt. Later, Reuben returned to the cistern, and when he found that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and said, "The boy is gone. What will I do?" Then the brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message: "Look at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son?" Their father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Surely Joseph has been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on burlap, and mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "I will go to my grave mourning for my son," he said. So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, in Egypt, the Ishmaelite traders sold Joseph to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was captain of the palace guard.